Synth Network.
Good evening, everyone. It is Friday, the 26th of March. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK. Welcome to everyone that's watching live, and to those of you watching on catch-up, hello, where were you? Thank you for coming anyway. It is another episode, is this 51, I think? Episode 51 of the Synth Network live show. We've almost been doing this 1 year. And as ever, I'm joined by Ben, Cryss, and this week we have joined again by our very good friend, Mr. Simon Alexander. Hello, guys. How are we all?
Evening.
Evening.
Doing well. Evening. Oh, yes, we're full of excitement, ready to go.
Yes.
Yes, we're all kind of in moody lit rooms. You know, Cryss has kind of got his luminescence thing going. I've got my blue light going on, and Simon, I've got to do it. He's in that infinite synth cave, which is looking rather nice, bathed in a kind of blue light. Is that blue or indigo or something? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit of blue.
A little bit of blue. Okay. It does work, doesn't it? Because I mean, I've got like that. That's blue. Well, it looks kind of white on camera, but trust me, it is blue, and it does help with the presentation. Although I have this awful shadow on my face, I do need to work on my lighting. Anyway. Are we all good? Yes, we're all. I mean, Cryss, you're sitting there looking rather smug with yourself. Has anything happened in your life recently that you'd like to tell us about that gives you that sense of warm, deep satisfaction?
Well, yes, indeed.
I call it the Alan Parsons Project. Sorry.
So my buddy and I got together about 2 days ago, and this is my friend that owned the 2600. I opened it up last week and was starting checking everything out and fired it up, but unfortunately it's not working. So it will probably need a good going through and some repair. So I imagine that's going to take quite a while, but we ended up making a deal and trading some gear, and so he's got some stuff that's making him really happy, and I've got a 2600 that's going to make me happy.
Yay.
Wow.
He did it. He killed his neighbour. No, sorry. Please tell me you didn't kill him. No. No, well done. Congrats. That's a heck of an acquisition. And so good luck to you, and hopefully you'll we'll hear it singing sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a genuine article, that one. Well done. Simon, you got anything new? You have, haven't you? You bought something new just the other day that you showed me.
I bought a Mirage.
Yeah, another one.
Another one. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for Mirage. Yeah, I just like them. I mean, you'd be mad to try and go out and sample with one, but the sample library that you can get on HXC is quite nice. And this one was, believe it or not, boxed, and it works.
It looked minty.
Yeah, it's really. So yeah, that's it really. I think I bought some software as well. I can't quite remember what. Nothing really spectacular, and just still loving the essence. So doing a lot of work on that really. Yeah,
it is lovely. Ben, have you bought anything new recently?
No, I haven't. Nothing significant anyway.
No.
Maybe just like the odd effect or something. But
are you feeling a bit left out?
No, I'm still happy with the OBE. That was my last. That was my last software purchase. I'm still learning new things on that every time you use it, and it's being used on everything I do, really. So I think that's been well worth the money.
Good stuff. Excellent. Well, there you go. It's time is marching on. Let's crack on with some of the news topics of the week. I was going through this the other day, and there's not a lot of hardware news. It does seem to be predominantly software, so apologies for that, but it's not our fault if people aren't releasing really new and exciting hardware. There's one or two little bits, but nothing much.
I know, if they don't release new stuff, then we have to go and buy old stuff.
I know, it's shocking. Also, before we do all of that stuff, I completely forgot. So if you want, you can find us on Twitter. We are on Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on there as well. We're on Instagram, where we're not broadcasting live. We're on Facebook, where we are broadcasting live. And, of course, I guess the vast majority of you are watching us on Facebook. And our hashtag or our name tag over there is all at ProSynth Network. And, of course, you can, if you want to get in touch with us during the week and you're maybe not on the Facebook group or you're not or you don't want to go on Facebook, you can email us, info@prosynthnetwork.com, and we'll pick up your emails there if you want that to happen. Also, if you want to donate to us, which we really would love you to do, if you like to see us carry on doing this, and you've all been incredibly generous thus far, and we should be able to go on to that holiday with topless models in the Bahamas fairly soon. The donation link for that fund is in the description below. It's there on the screen. Cutley/PSN-donate, and the more money we get, the more young ladies we can take with us. So let's move on to our first news topic of the week. What shall it be? Let's do a bit of potluck. Also, while I'm choosing this, it's worth mentioning that we do have a competition winning announcement to make later on. 3 copies of Pulsar Modular's Lunar Lander, which has just got an update. We'll speak about that a little bit later in the show. But if you've entered, it's now, that's it. The winners have been chosen, so you can't enter now. It's too late. But if you have entered and you're looking to see if maybe you have won, then stay tuned, because we will have that announcement for you very shortly. So let's kick off with our friends at Synevibes, who have just launched Luminescence, the Shimmer Reverb. This is a Mac plugin for audio units and VST3. It is a mere $39 US plus tax, and let's just have a little listen to this just to see what it does. Can I get a thumbs up that you're getting the audio? Yeah. It's a shimmer reverb, like the world needs more shimmer reverbs, but this is actually a really, really nice one. And Ben, you made a rather chucklesome comment when you saw this about actually being able to see the kind of the reverb in the design.
It's like the first time that like shimmer actually made any sense to me. With you've got the effect going, the waves of the effect, but then the pitch goes up and down as well, and it just made perfect sense. I thought it was a brilliant interface.
Visualization is a great thing. Is this something though that we've all got plenty of shimmer reverbs, whether they're plugins or built into instruments. Do we need another one? Is this that unique?
I think it sounded nice, especially once I hit that kind of bell type tones on it. I don't need another shimmer reverb.
But you're going to get it anyway.
Yeah, well, the Synevibes plugins sound really good, so
they are.
I'm sure I'll probably end up getting it.
Mm-hmm. Ben, is this something that you'll splash out $39 on?
39 quid. It's well worth it, isn't it? Yeah. I probably will, actually, because I'm pretty late to the shimmer party, and I'm still yet to decide on which one I want to go with. So yeah, I might get that one.
Yeah,
it does everything, and it's a nice interface. So.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say the interface is really nice. Let me just see if I can bring that a little bit larger on screen, and then just share that. So let's do this. So as you can see, it's color coded. It's just the simplest of flat designs, which, you know, when I first saw this whole flat design thing come in, a few years ago, I think Apple were not the first, but they, whenever Apple changed their design methodology, everyone seems to follow suit. And this is nice. It's just clean, simple, does exactly what it says on the tin, and say it has this nice kind of graphic representation of what's going on. What do you think, Simon?
Sorry, you got me just as I was having a sip of water there. When I heard it, I mean, very Pink Floyd-y, lovely effects. I agree with Cryss. I thought the bell sounds were nice. How much you use it? I mean, certainly if you did it in a track, everyone would go. You'd probably get a lot of, wow, that sounds lovely, but I think you could probably overuse it a little bit, which would be the danger with something like that because it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Value for money? Yeah. I mean, no, it's not going to, set you back. Start thinking about 39. Is it dollars, euros?
Dollars. Yeah, US dollars plus tax.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think for the money it's worth the punt. I just think usability, you'd use it so often, but not very often, because you'd sound, like I say, a little bit too Pink Floyd-y for me, but a very nice effect. Quality of the effect I thought was really, really nice. And such a simple idea as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The quality of the Synevibes stuff is just it's just so good. Isn't out on the Korg platform, which using the logs, but I guess they do seem to follow a trend that if they bring one out on one platform, shortly after they come out on the other one. So that'd be a nice little one to throw into.
I would think that they would bring it out. For
yeah,
the Korg.
Even if it's just a kind of a smaller version of it. But yeah, it's
not too over complex with the UI as well, which you.
Yeah,
I think like Ben said, you with something like a shimmer reverb, you just want it very simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
So Synevibes.com for that one. Another one of the impressive plugins for a mere $39. And I guess I'm just going to check before I claim that it does. You can get Luminance in the collection, so you can get like Albedo Blend, Droplet and Luminance, all four plugins that they do for the Mac platform for just $109, which I guess is going to save you quite a bit, actually, because I think they all go for around $39.
The other thing to point out with that is that if you buy one of their plugins, every time you make a purchase after that, you get a discount. So they're good about rewarding loyalty. Yeah. So you'll get, I can't remember what it is, at least 20% off.
Yeah.
Is there a demo on that as well? A demo,
yes.
Which I like in software, because I think when you're not too sure, I think that makes a huge amount of difference. So that's good that they've got a demo on that as well.
Yeah, they're very good like that. So well done, Synevibes.
The way that the pitch shifting is implemented in these shimmer reverbs can vary quite a bit, and so. I guess we kind of talk about it's like it's just shimmer reverb and it's all the same, but I have noticed I've got the Valhalla shimmer that I've had for a long time, and received the Eventide one free because I had the H9 Max, and then I bought the Irid, and even just between those three, like the sound difference is quite different. I mean, the Eventide's very in your face, like what you think of shimmer, but it's not always the most musical. Whereas like Valhalla is a little more tame, but it's very musical. Or Irid, which is kind of got almost like a vintage vibe to it, in a way. But I like the kind of fidelity of this Synevibes sound. So I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah. Synevibes.com, that's where you can go and buy that. It's Mac only, but nobody's complaining about that, are they? Let's move on. Here's a new plugin, which is a new instrument from UVI, and this is a multi-instrument and sequence designer called Quadra. When I saw the name Quadra, I thought, they've gone and done a full-blown ARP Quadra, but it's nothing to do with that at all. This is the fact that it's 4-layer morphable instrument with advanced arpeggiators, MIDI effects, and more. It comes in another kind of delightfully straightforward, simple, flat designed interface, which looks very nice. It kind of reminds me slightly. there's a company that does these big kind of cinematic plugins for Contact, and they use like this kind of quadrant thing with this blending tool in the middle, and it kind of reminds me a little of that. So you can blend these kind of 4 instruments together, and I guess the best way to understand what it's doing is to have a listen to the trailer, shall we? So that's quite interesting. I'm a big fan of what UVI do. It seems like they've moved away from all the vintage sample libraries, which is a good thing because I think they kind of got stuck in a rut there. And these nice, new, inventive, different little instruments are quite interesting. Cryss, what do you think about this? I mean, you're the guitarist amongst us. This features a lot of guitars and plucked instruments in this nice little kind of blending tool. What do you think?
Yeah, so probably not for me, because it would take anything I could do on guitar or bass and make it 20 times harder for me. But the UI is really nice, and if you aren't a guitarist or a bassist, I mean, I know there's some other instruments in there as well that would be nice as well. I think they have a Japanese instrument, and I can't remember what else, but yeah, I like their kind of interfaces now. They look really good. Wish Contact would do the same thing, but
yeah. Well, I think we've had this discussion a number of times, and
actually,
for me,
I don't care about Contact. I wish third-party companies would make stuff for, say, like UVI or Apple Sample or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned about the different instruments. So there's a selection of 150 multi-sample sources, including acoustic and electric guitars from Fender, PRS, Gibson, Chapman sticks in there as well. Other stringed instruments, including harp, cello, violin, viola, Nagoya harp, and lots of other things that I probably can't pronounce properly. And pianos, concert grands, uprights, clavinets, CP70 in there, physical modelling synthesizers, FM synthesizers, lots of, I guess, plucky, muty type string things in there. And I guess it has a niche, doesn't it? It's got a market that it's going to satisfy. I've seen a lot of people comment about kind of ambient stuff. This is really nice. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that would be something that I would use because I can't play guitar. So there's lots of questions that I want to ask about it because say you open it as a VST, and I would imagine that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You play notes on your keyboard, and it's got this wonderful arpeggiating sequences going on their presets. I would want to know how you would sync that in time with the DAW. I'm sure you must be able to do it because if you can't, you're screwed. So they didn't explain that in the video. The editing on it I thought was very straightforward, but yeah, the complexity of it is nice but straightforward. The presets were incredible. Some of them were just mind blowing. Price wise, I don't think it's too expensive. Here's one where I really hoped there would be a demo because that probably would have downloaded that and just sort of had a go on that. But there's no demo on it or trial period. I wish some of these software manufacturers would do that. It's particularly something like this, which is kind of new. Let's say there are other things that do something similar, but not quite as there's not four corners in the way that you can sort of. It actually reminded me a little bit of the old joystick I've got on the VS, where you can vector between the two sounds. Though it's a little bit more complex than that. But I thought sound-wise, it sounded great, and their demo, they were playing three notes, and it was sounding a hell of a lot more than just pressing 3 notes. It was
Yeah.
really nice arpeggiation. So nice idea. And of course, UVI. I mean, you don't really say much about UVI. They're another one of the top software team and hardware, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To answer your question about the synchronization of the timing, that's all done through, because this, you need to either use the free UVI workstation or Falcon, and you can set the clock sync in that instrument to sync with the DAW. So
you can't open it up in Logic or as a VST. You can.
But you use the UVI workstation plugin as the host.
Oh, okay.
So this is basically a library that appears in either UVI workstation or Falcon. So it's and you just synchronize the timing from there. So it's
I say it's obviously they had to do that. But no, sound wise, I think it's great.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think I'd rather have Cryss by my side. They play
well,
guitar.
yes, indeed. Wouldn't we all? Ben?
I liked it. I thought it was very kind of inspiring. You know, the different textures that you get from the plucked instruments working with the sequences, and then the kind of crossfade in between the different ones. I thought it was kind of almost a bit like the plugin that you didn't know you wanted. You know, those kind of sounds don't. I don't think to myself, I need to get those kinds of sounds. But then, when somebody shows you what the potential is, you know, it doesn't have to sound. It doesn't have to sound like somebody strumming a guitar. It can be combined with all these other elements, and you can come up with some really. It was quite. Some of it reminded me a bit of Omnisphere. Really, Omnisphere seems to have like quite a bit of this going on in it, and that does it really well as well. But I think, you know, it's only 99 quid, and Omnisphere is quite a lot of money. But Omnisphere does a lot more besides that as well. But I think it does fall in that same kind of area. It's like I think, like what they were saying about the ambient market using it. Yeah, but I'd like to see other people using it as well, because I think it's got like a lot of potential to add a different kind of twist to your music.
Yeah, absolutely. You know. It's good. You mentioned the price. It's €99 at the moment. It's normally 149, so they're doing that intro price. Right. And with regards to the demo, it's something I've spoken to them about in the past, and they have done 1 or 2 of their libraries as demos. But because I guess they're libraries that sit within a host, if you will, a host VST, such as the free workstation or Falcon. I guess that might be difficult to do. I don't know. Everything that they do is iLok protected anyway. So I don't know why they don't do that. If they looking at options, I don't know. But yeah, I mean it's a really useful thing. I mean, I'm seriously tempted by this because it's got a lot of things in there. What I would actually prefer is having something like this, and I'm sure there is something out there where I get all of the functionality, but I can use my own instruments, whether they're external or samples or other plugins, so that I can use. And I'm sure I mean, like in Reason, you have players that do that. They give you all the functionality but no sound, and you just tell it which instruments to trigger. And they've got like arpeggiators and chord generators and all sorts of things like that. So, but I'd like that interface, but be able to patch it into anything that I want to patch it into. But I'm just being greedy.
One thing too that is recommended when you start using things that replicate stringed instruments is to think about the technique, because way of guitarists played. I believe it was Daniel Fisher has done some videos on it, talking about like having a kind of a guitar type mindset when you play keyboard. So like how you would roll your chords, because most of the time, like if you're playing with a pick, you don't strike everything exactly at the same time. It's a strum or an arpeggio. And so to kind of adjust your keyboard playing for that can get a much better sense of accuracy, knowing what the instrument can do and what its limitations are in particular.
Yeah.
There's some people, I think most of the examples I usually hear are like, "Oh, that's so fake. That's definitely not guitar. That's definitely not a guitarist playing." But there are a few people that have done it really well. That video I referenced, and I've heard some stuff that Torsten's done where he puts himself in the mindset of a guitarist, and it's quite shocking how close you can get to it if you employ those techniques.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. That's UVI's Quadra, Muted and Harmonics, to give it its full title, uvi.net. It's currently on sale at €99, going up to full price of $149. They don't say when, but get in quick if that floats your boat. Right, let's see, what shall we do next? Let's talk about this one. I put this on the list. I'm just going to briefly mention it because it's free stuff, and I like to talk about free stuff. But I then implemented these things and had a really nasty experience with them. So, Airwindows. I've not heard of this guy before and his work, but basically he's produced a couple of hundred odd effects plugins, all doing very unique and different things. And they are all really, really simple interfaces. And there's no graphics in there at all. It's just sliders and switches, and that's it. And there's no graphics. It's just real basic stuff. So they're incredibly low footprint. And you can download like every single one of them in a big pack, which I did without reading the website first, which said you might not want to do that because there are a lot of them. The other thing is that they are all audio units, and when I installed them, because of the Mac OS, it was rejecting every single one of them because it's hasn't got the correct gatekeeper signatures and what have you. So you then have to manually, for each one, go in and say, yes, I'm happy for this to go in. This is just one of the things that you put up with in the world of Mac. And really, really good. Some of the demo videos on here are really good. But I installed all 238, I think. I just threw them into my folder. And, of course, I opened Logic. And I'm sat there. And it's a 2-click process to get through the pop-ups. And then you have to go to your system preferences and say, yes, I'd like that one. So it's 3 clicks in 2 different windows times 238. And by about 40 or 50, I was just like, no, sorry, stop. Force quit the lot and remove them. And I will put them back on again. But I just wondered, had anybody else installed any of these? Because this was recommended to us by Corrosive Abuser, who's in the chat room, and they sent us a message on YouTube and said, you really want to check these out. And I really do, but I made the big mistake of like throwing them all in and not thinking about it first. But did anybody else do that? Or was it just me? I haven't
tried them yet because I don't really use Logic as my main DAW. So I don't think, is there a VST version?
Mm-hmm.
There is.
Yep, VSTs and audio units.
All right, I thought it was only
Mac
audio
only,
units.
I believe.
All right, well I'll get these, but I'm not putting them all on at once. That'd just be daft.
I think they're Mac only. I'm not sure, but yeah. But they are just bare bones. And the thing is, they've got the code behind them. They do exactly what they say they should do, but don't expect any fancy graphics.
Yeah.
And that's good in a way. I mean, if all you just want is a simple effect that does X, this will do it. No fancy graphics, very simple to understand. But my advice is pick a few, a handful, and then get through that whole gatekeeper process, and then you're good to go.
You can disable, of course, that gatekeeper thing.
You can if you want to do that. That's entirely up to you. I don't, so that's what I have to live with. But so I took one for the team. Okay, but I thought I would give them a shout out because Corrosive Abuser put me onto them, and maybe that's something we can come back to. Maybe we can try a few of those out and bring those back in. But it's free stuff, and it's airwindows.com, all one word, airwindows.com, and go and check those out and try a few. It's like free, and you can leave a donation.
I thought it was a Star Wars thing when I first went to the page, because he's got a bit of a look of Mark Hamill from the side, and I thought he had a
Mark
Jedi,
Hamill, yes, yeah.
He could do
Jedi
with
robe on.
he could do with a nice blonde bit doing his production, because he's not exactly the most photogenic. Not saying that I am, but he's not the most photogenic bloke, is he?
But
Yeah.
you
They
know,
sound good.
Yeah,
They do
They
sound
do.
good.
They do.
But
sound
I had to
very
close my eyes and just sort of take my eyes off him because he's snoring down the microphone.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
But no, it's I mean, it's free stuff at the end of the day, and I wasn't aware of that. So thank you to Corrosive Abuser for bringing that to our attention, and hopefully we'll come back to those once we've.
And what would be nice is
installed
if maybe if somebody that's used them like Corrosive Abuser would let us know a few of them that are the ones to try.
Yeah. What should we try?
Recommendations.
Yeah.
Top,
Absolutely.
top 5.
Indeed. Right. Let's see. Let's talk about this one, because I did have. Cryss told me about a promotion, and I thought, well, I'm going to buy this one, and then realised that the free thing that I got, I'd already got. So I didn't really get any benefit from it. So I can't give the free thing away. But this is a new plugin in conjunction with Heimbach. This is Things Motor. Let's bring this up on screen here. This is AudioThing, Things Motor. It's a morphing rotor effect. It's basically a plugin that uses sidechaining to combine signals in new and interesting ways. Put in any two signals and they will dance around each other like courting birds drunk on fermented cherries. That's their words, not mine. Now, I'm not going to play that video because that's quite a long one, although maybe I should, because that's the only one they've got there. Let's see, because it does start off with Heimbach, and let's get some sounds. Here we go. So you can hear that effect going on. So yeah, I kind of like that because it's really different and kind of unexpected. Or well, I say unexpected. It's the results are unexpected. You really are kind of you're not really knowing quite what you're going to get depending on what you put into it. This is it's a software recreation of a tool that was used in the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, which was a one-of-a-kind thing apparently. And it was speed-dependent switching of different audio channels, and quite how they do it is all listed here. I'm not going to go into any great detail. But right now, you can get this for a measly €9, which works out about £6.50 in UK money, whatever that is in US. Cryss, what did you pay?
I think the asking price is $9. You can find it for a little bit cheaper, though.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's not really a lot of money. And it's really simple, and you can just apply it to anything and just see what happens there. This is another, great little, cheap little Heimbach-inspired tool. Thoughts on this, anyone? Who wants to go first?
Sounds a bit like a phaser with a wah-wah. It's cheap, but I think you could get similar, not the same effects, with a plethora of effects you've already got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair point. Cryss, what do you think? You've got this.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not going to cover all of your modulation needs, but you basically have amplitude modulation or tremolo. You have pitch modulation, vibrato, and then you also have panning. And so Saskos asks, is it a Leslie speaker type thing? Yes and no. It doesn't sound like a Leslie, but it'll do a similar effect. More, it kind of reminds me of like guitar pedals trying to do that sound that exactly Leslie simulators. But the fun part is it really works well in the subtleties of it. I mean, that first piano example they show, you hear a lot of tremolo, and so it's almost like chopping up the sound in a way, almost like a granular delay or something is what it sounds like, but that's not what it's doing, just a tremolo. But if you start subtly moving those knobs at the bottom, and then also too, like, so I mean, you can get straight tremolo or vibrato sounds, but I enjoyed running the pan pretty high, so you're getting a very stereo effect, add just a little bit of tremolo and a lot of vibrato. But then with that mix knob, if you start bringing it back, you're gonna start hearing those kind of chorusy phase sounds going on as you mix that straight vibrato with a dry signal. And so there's a lot of really interesting sounds that are not, it's not exactly a Leslie or it's not exactly a chorus pedal, but you can get very similar types of effects. And then the combination of them is usually where it's most interesting.
Yeah, I'm tempted because I had the really great honour of meeting some members of the Radiophonic Workshop, including Brian Hodgson, who lives fairly close by. And he's used this, according to the blurb here, he and Delia used this on an episode of Doctor Who. And I was slightly tempted to drop him a line and say, because he's getting on a bit now, and I'm not entirely sure he's really doing much audio-wise, but I thought, it'd be interesting to hear his take on it, seeing as he used it in anger. So maybe I'll see if I can get in touch again and ask him what he thinks. Ben, you're looking like you look like a Doctor Who. In your tweed jacket with your beard, you look like you could be a Doctor Who. What do you think?
I loved it. I think it's probably the best thing we've got on the show tonight.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's really, really great. And I remember it being posted in the group. It was posted by Gary Linden, and I thought, yeah, it's £9, but I just thought it was a Leslie, emulation of some description. And I suppose it is that, like Chris said, but it's so much more as well. It's like a wave mangler, It just the things I thought it was particularly effective on like slow ambient things. It's the way that the harmonics evolve because of the the way that this motor effect that's based on that Crystal Palace machine. In the video as well, if you watch it, it's got a great section with that Look Mum No Computer guy, and he recreates the Crystal Palace machine, a kind of modern take on it, and that it sounds bizarre, but then when it slows down and some of the like harmonics again that's coming out of it are just amazing, and this motor thing can do that. I think it's for £9. It's it's superb. It really is.
Aaron wants to know if you've got a job interview later, by the way.
I wish I did have.
It's funny because we're sat here doing the show, and I just had an email pop up from a recruitment consultant asking if I'm interested in a job with Amazon, as a genuine job with Amazon, not that was kind of put me off my stroke there just for a while. I like these little cheap things because
one more thing about it is that the speed control goes into audio rate, and so you can get and depending on how you manipulate those controls on the bottom, you can get AM and FM ring modulation and other effects that are very cool. Plus, there's a side chain. I haven't used the side chain yet, but
that seems where it really all starts happening. You bring the side chain in, and you alter. You go into that audio range.
I like the different kind of effects you get with the different types of sound that you put in. So you can have the same effect, but like for example, if it's a fairly kind of percussive type sound. With a sharp attack or a fast attack on it, then it's completely different to what if you put a nice big kind of washy pad through it, because then it just starts blending, and then it's just it's
a
just
different
really
effect. But here's the thing for you, Rob. Take your DX7, something that doesn't have any effects on it,
and
at all,
shove it up my
and say, would you rather have that as a plugin or the luminescence thing, the very first thing? So I guess it depends on what you're going to use it for. Because I thought the overall effect was nice, but it was very. I just thought it was very phasey, flangery. It wasn't. Whereas for me, again, because I use synthesizers, I don't use guitars or anything. I think it would be more useful to have something that sounded a little bit different, a little bit more. So I'm not saying it's a bad effect. It is a nice effect, and again, the UI is really simple on it. But again, it depends what you're going to use it for and where you're going to use it.
Yeah, it's horses for courses, definitely.
But for $9, it's just worth a punt, isn't it? Really.
And and that's what I did. And I thought, if I don't like it, I've not lost a huge amount.
And they've not been silly with that. If they'd priced that at $40, people would have just gone. No, but $9 is just worth a punt.
And its full price is 19, but it's currently offered on 9, and they did the same thing with texture. So even then at €19, it's not a real big thing. No, not at all.
Oh, can I just mention? I don't know if you were going to do this. The offer for the OBE is imminently about to run out. If people,
that's true. Yeah, if you want to get your GeForce OBE,
get it,
and it's well worth getting. Yeah, honestly, I'm sorry to diverse.
Highly recommended all the ways around here.
I've never had so much fun with an analog plugin. Well, it's a standalone, isn't it? But I mean, it's just phenomenal.
I would also just like to say that if you buy Motor, now Cryss hit me up to this. He said if you put Motor into your basket, then go and choose one of the more expensive ones. It automatically adds in Valves, which is another one of their plugins, for free, and then you just take the expensive thing out and it stays there. I didn't have to add the expensive thing in, but whichever. But then I realised I put it all through and paid my €9 or whatever it was, and then went to install Valves, and I've already got Valves. Oh well, never mind. So
that was on. Point out that was on ADSR.
That's it. Sorry, yes, I must. Say that ADSR is the website you can do that on. So don't try that on AudioThing. Good spot. AudioThing.net is where you would normally buy it from, but if you go to ADSR, that's the offer. They'll throw in things. Valves, or is it things valves? I don't know. Valves. Yeah. They'll throw in Valves for free.
Is it or as I called it, wires as well?
Or you called it tubes, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I called it tubes, and I was like, that's the American.
But then they have wires as well. Yeah, and springs and very simple sounding names. Anyway,
Ben
AudioThing.
was just saying something. I don't know if you were mentioning. I didn't catch what you said, Ben, but also mention if that's what it was. If you buy, what's this plugin? I just Motor. Lost it. Motor, yeah. If you buy Motor, you get a discount. So it gave me an offer for wires for $29.
Oh, that's good.
Dropped the price quite a bit.
Yeah, that's 50% off. Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, AudioThing.net. If you want to go and find out more about things Motor, and ADSR if you want to take up the offer of getting valves thrown in for free.
You could actually end up with wires, valves, and Motor for less than 40 quid.
Yeah.
if you did it right. Yeah.
And if you connect them all together, you have a car. So, yeah, lovely. Right, let's go and do this one. He says, I really should prepare better for this. Shall we do... Yeah, let's talk about this. This is a brand new library for those of you... And there's probably, I think everyone but me owns Omnisphere. I just haven't been bitten by the bug. But there is a new Bob Moog tribute library, number 2, with 1,300 patches in there from 50 amazing artists, and all the proceeds, I believe 100% of the proceeds, goes to Michelle's Bob Moog Foundation. Yeah, 100% of the proceeds. And you've got stuff in there from Zimmer, Vince Clarke, Jean-Michel Jarre, Crystal Method, Keith Shockley, Larry Fast, Morgan Page, Jan Hammer, Diego Stocco, Michael Bodica, Richard Devine, Yuichi Sakamoto. There's just loads of stuff in there. And you can buy that from Omnisphere's webpage, spectrasonic.net. And it costs you a mere $99, but all of that, every single cent, will go to the Bob Moog Foundation, of course. That's something we are very keen to support. As I say, I have no skin in this game, so I can't comment on this. But has anybody tried this one yet, or does this appeal? Is this just a good charity thing? I mean, are there any really good sounds in here? That's what
I haven't tried it yet, so I can't comment on that. But I guess that it's going to be amazing because the people that's behind it and the quality that you can get with Omnisphere, it's just going to be superb. And the fact that every single penny of what's made goes to the Moog Foundation is that's reason to buy it on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely going to buy it, and I'll be in a better position to talk about it next week. But I haven't got round to doing it yet. Sorry.
Tell you what, shall we hear from Eric himself? Let's do that, because it's always good to hear from Eric Persing. Here we go.
It is an exciting day today for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the 10-year anniversary of the Bob Moog tribute library that we created for Omnisphere to raise funds for the Bob Moog Foundation, who do all kinds of incredible work teaching kids about electronic music in the Moogseum, and they're awesome. So to celebrate, we decided to create a version 2 of the Bob Moog tribute library that we are releasing today. And it has over 500 new patches, over 50 artists. There's 1,300 plus patches. It's amazing. So if you haven't checked it out, this is a great time to get into it. It's still $99. Every dollar goes to the Bob Moog Foundation. And it's just a great library. And these new patches are amazing. So for existing users, you get it for free. Check it out in your smart update and go to the site.
Oh, there you go. So that was worth putting on there, because if you are an existing user, you pay no more. You get the update free of charge. But if you aren't, you get extra.
Let me define that, because a question that I had that I saw all their social media blow up with because they didn't define what it means to be an existing user. So is that an existing Omnisphere user, or is it somebody who has bought the Bob Moog and it's that?
Yeah.
But they didn't say, and so there was a lot of confused users. I went to see, because I've got the Bob Moog stuff in my Omnisphere. And I was looking like, is there an update for this, or how do I get this? I mean, we're not happy. We're not unhappy about giving the Bob Moog Foundation some money. So I just wanted to make that clear. Yeah, if you have the Bob Moog Foundation, the original tribute library, it's a free upgrade. And if not, then you'll get the stuff. Which is
absolutely. And so if you've got this, you've just got a whole bunch more thrown in there. For nothing, and if you haven't, then go out and get it, and you'll get all of that together, version 2. I don't have Spectrasonics Omnisphere. If anybody wants to, supply me. Eric, are you listening? I just know, honestly, everyone who gets it tells me that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
It's the ancillary libraries as well, Triple Spiral, and there's a plethora of them that do so many really good add-ons for not just the Omnisphere library. I use one called Nordic Waves or something or other. Triple Spiral. It's not expensive, but boy, is it good. Not so. I mean, Omnisphere, I put them on a par with Spitfire. And Eric Persing is like
legend.
Probably the best programmer. He's proven it over the years. I haven't got it. I've certainly believe in the whole process and what he's doing with the Bob Moog Foundation. I donate privately to the foundation anyway. That's just my personal preference. I've no doubt in thinking that it would be anything other than mind-blowing, the software.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay. Well, that's Omnisphere's version 2 of the Bob Moog tribute library out now. Let's do some. Let's talk some stuff, shall we? Now, let me just make sure I get the right page, because if I don't, it'll be embarrassing. I'm going to have to take potluck here.
While you're doing that, it would be nice if anybody that has it so far. I haven't had a chance to download it yet, but there's not very many. There's only a couple short videos on that Bob Moog tribute library, the new one, and so just a plea for somebody to put out play through the presets or something. That would be great to hear those.
Yeah, definitely.
I just mentioned something that Rob, Native VS, has mentioned actually about the Symphony of Voices. And I agree with him on that because I bought that years ago. That's a CD-ROM set.
I've got
and that is absolutely... It's still usable today. It's quite extraordinary, that library. But I think that's showing my age and probably Rob's as well, because it must be 25 plus years at least. Yeah.
What have I ever done to him? Hey, you down there? Honestly,
that was the preemptive push under the bus.
That was yeah.
But here's another thing, actually, slightly off piste here. Here's me drinking water. Has anyone noticed? Now, you guys have been doing this show for a year, and Ben would have been cracking off a couple of Guinnesses now. Rob would have done a bottle of wine. Cryss, you probably were drinking pop like me. And look, no one's touched anything. What's happened with you boys? You've all gone
weak orange squash. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tea, and a cup of tea, coffee.
I know.
On tea table. It's a trend, you see. I've started it.
It's one I shall put a stop to after we finish the show.
Crikey, what's that, Ben?
Asda's apple and mango. There you go.
You are
Product
going for a job
placement.
interview. That's why, isn't it?
Yeah. Asda. Yeah.
Let's do this. We haven't done one of these for a little while, so let's get into this. I always like a good discussion or a good debate. Ben threw up a question in the group this week, and it goes a little something like this. As technology seems to me to be blurring the lines between producer and synthesist, do you find yourself performing the roles of engineer, producer, programmer, and hopefully musician more and more? Is it even possible to only be a synth player these days? And this is a really kind of interesting point here, because we now live in a world where each one of us, we're all in our own little studios. We don't need to really get involved with other human beings. We don't need to hire people in to do jobs. We are kind of one-man bands, if you will. And obviously, Ben plays in a band, but when he's in his little room there, when I'm in mine, or Cryss is in his, or Simon's in there, we do all of those jobs ourselves, essentially. But I don't consider myself to be a producer, and we'll come on to that word in just a moment. I don't consider myself to be a producer or an engineer or a programmer, really. I'm just a hobby musician, I guess, and I just kind of do what I need to do to get through. So it's interesting. I mean, let's go around the room, okay, the virtual room, and we'll also ask everyone that's in the chat, if you can just put in the chat what you think you are. How would you class it? It's the elevator pitch. Somebody's asked you, what do you do in terms of music? Do you say, I'm a producer, I'm a keyboard player, I'm this, I'm that? Cryss, how would you define yourself?
Honestly, when people ask, I just say I'm a musician. Because if they follow up with anything else and I say, I'm a sound designer or whatever, then it just
gets complicated.
It leads to too many other questions.
Yeah.
So if I just say I'm a musician, they say, what instrument do you play? I play guitar and bass and synth. But it has changed and it has evolved. I guess you would have. I guess it could have been said I was a live music producer, arranger, and I had to in that job I had to be kind of a jack of all trades. So while I did perform playing guitar and singing, at the same time I had to do a lot of other things. I had to teach people how to run sound systems. I had to arrange music, teach, show people parts on other instruments and things like that. So I don't have to do any of that anymore, and there's some of that I'm glad to leave behind. But I really miss the being involved with other people making music. Once the COVID's over, I'll go back to being in at least one band. But I had not having the opportunity to do any musical projects with other people until just recently, and Aaron and I are starting to work on a project together. Putting together a song, which is fun. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as can you just be something? So, when I got home from the day job of doing music, I didn't spend for a lot of years. I mean, I did recording, but for a lot of years, I didn't. I wasn't doing the recording that I am doing now, and so it's mostly like I want to unwind now. I love my instrument. I just want to sit and play and do whatever, and maybe it was like some practicing and whatnot. But I didn't have to spend a lot of time like recording or setting a gain staging at home. Now, of course, everything has changed, and so I think you still can be just like a synth player or a guitarist or whatever. You just it's just the circles that we run tend to be those people that put music up on YouTube. And so if you're sitting at home or you're a more passive participant in the kind of online music scene, yeah, you sit home, you fire up your keyboard and you play and you enjoy yourself or you make some sounds. That's all you don't need to do anything else. You don't need to put your sounds online. You don't need to put your music online or to do anything else like that. But if you do, then of course, then the skill set that you need to have obviously starts getting bigger and bigger. And how we divide up time for that stuff, it will also be important. And it's where, like, I have found that because my job, I spent a lot of time playing guitar for it. Like, I didn't have to come home and work on guitar much because I was always using it. So here at home now, when I have time for recording and making music and stuff that's outside of sound design, then it's kind of like, how am I going to divide up my time? And the one thing that I've noticed, and I hear it in the music that I put out on YouTube, and I have forced myself to say, listen, it just is what it is right now. I know what I'm capable on guitar. I know what I was able to do before and that I still have in my head. But because my time is split between synthesizers and recording now, like, I know I just can't maintain that. And I cringe a little bit because I knew I can see the comparison. But there are choices to be made, and that's not something that's gone away forever. If I sit and I get really serious about practicing one instrument, then it all comes back. It just takes a little bit of time. But I think for now, it's kind of fun to be the at-home music producer, if you will. And I don't, I'm not doing it where I used to do it professionally. Now I just do it for fun. And I don't have any qualms about people being called producers that just make music themselves at home. That's what they're doing. Sorry, I'm going a little bit long here, but I remember watching. I just watched recently. It was several, at least 3 or 4 hours, I think, of Prince's producer. I can't remember her name, but it was his producer at Sunset Sound.
Oh, yes,
Peggy.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Anyway, somebody probably knows her name. And so her story, again, a lot of the producers, we're not talking like Berkeley or MIT or something. They start working at a studio and they intern, they get better and they learn. They don't know anything about music gear or anything, but they learn. They all of a sudden, they're making hit records. And so I think there's a tendency for some people to try to, create a sort of a hierarchy or a caste system of people who can be called producer. And so if you make music at home and you're putting it on YouTube and people are listening to your music, there are other people that want to put that down. Or if they work in a music recording studio, I'm not saying that those people don't have talent, because there are radically talented people in music studios, but I just don't think that we should have kind of the arrogance or put other people down for making music. To me, it's like, well, if you, and we see sometimes on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see some guy, in a third world country in Africa, and he's got a drum set that's made out of 5-gallon buckets, and he's playing the hell out of them. And I was like, that dude is a musician. And he has very little to work with, and he's making music, and maybe he's made other instruments. And I've seen a number of stories like this, like how dare you not call somebody like that a music producer? They absolutely are.
Well, let's talk about that. By the way, it's Peggy McCreary. I just looked that up.
Peggy McCreary, yes, that's it.
She was Prince's engineer at Sunset. So I'm going to throw my opinion at him. We can all chuck our hat into the ring. The term producer. Okay, so I'm in my 50s. I'm not as old as the other two guys below me in the picture.
But he looks it.
Oh, shut up. But for me, the term producer is a person that sits in a studio, that manages the desk and manages the band to get the very best out of them. And that role is multifaceted, from being a technical role to being a director or an organizer, an appeaser of egos and attitudes within a studio environment. When you say the word producer to me in a musical sense, I think Trevor Horn, I think George Martin, I think as soon as I tried to pick a whole bunch of names out of thin air of producers, but you know what I mean. Those guys that sat in a studio and made a living from doing that job, which is a multifaceted job. Nowadays, or certainly in the last maybe 20 odd years or so, the term producer has often been applied to someone like one of us sitting in a little home studio. Often I see it used in the hip hop and R&B world. What are you? I'm a producer. Well, no, you're just a guy with an MPC and a copy of Fruity Loops. You're not a producer in my definition of the word. You're a musician. You might be a beat maker. You might be a producer. I just don't like that appropriation of the term producer, and that's just me. I wouldn't call any of us producers.
I disagree with that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm more with Cryss on this. In that anybody who produces music is a producer because they're producing something. I know
in the broad definition of the word producer. Yes.
Yeah. But I agree with you, Rob. In that I've worked with producers, and they kind of became. The second that you came into contact with the producer, they became the manager of the band during the recording process, and that is nothing like what the home producers are doing. In a way, it's nothing like that, because the producer would sort out where the hotel was, what you were having to eat, where you ate, but then he'd get into the heads of the people in the band and find out who was good at what, and pull the strengths out of somebody that you didn't necessarily know had it, and it's kind of like a really personal experience working with a producer, because the one that I worked with, he wanted to get into your head, and he wanted to really understand you as a musician, so he could get the best from you. And it kind of, I learned, quite a bit with working with that person. And I think, although you can't compare it in a lot of ways, the job has changed. So now the band is the door. And the members of the band are the plugins. The producer is still producing a project. It's just what the tools he's working with have changed. It's like a pilot, for instance, is still a pilot. Whether he's flying a Spitfire or flying a space shuttle, is still a pilot. And the tools change, but the job is essentially the same.
I just think that with a producer, can you imagine? I know as soon as I mention an act, let's take the Beatles. Okay, I'm going to balls out Beatles. Okay, would the Beatles have been what they were on record without George Martin?
No.
No, I genuinely don't think they would be.
Because producer, it seems like you're implying that producer only means people that are good producers, and there's bad producers.
No, I'm just saying a producer is someone who has a very specific job in the studio of corralling all of those ideas, all of those skills, all of those egos, and as Ben says, extracting the best out of them. Maybe they didn't know that, and provide them with the canvas and the paints to create their thing. Now, the Beatles had loads of great ideas and would go to George and say, I want this. But it was George that facilitated and guided them, and I'm just old-fashioned, I guess.
And can I just throw in?
Yeah.
If they didn't have George, but they had the technology and they had Trevor Horn, they might not be the same sounding Beatles, but
wow, that's the Beatles I'd like to see.
I'd love to have seen what the Beatles would have done with sampling. I mean, they're obviously into sound mangling. Who knows? But
here's the thing, though, Robert. Just go back. I mean, it's such a diverse. I mean, we've all sort of given really good answers to this, but here's one that I'll throw in the pot. One day, I'll come in here and I'll do absolutely nothing. So I'm not a synthesist. I'm not a musician. I'm not a nothing. I just sit in here, and sometimes I'll just fiddle around on Logic, trying to learn stuff. So maybe I'm an engineer. Other days I'll come in here and I'll be twiddling buttons on an OB6, and then I'm a synthesist. Other days I'll come in here and I'll actually put some music down, so then I'm a musician. The whole thing now, I think, is a generic everything in the pot type of thing. Because there's bits of everything in there. We're all musicians because we've all got a love of music, and we all want to make our own creativity. That's why we have all this kit. We're very lucky in that we have at our fingertips the ability, and I speak for myself, when you're not a particularly good musician, to kind of polish a poo, if you like, and make yourself sound better than you are. I agree, and I take fully on board that you're a very good drummer. Cryss, you're an excellent guitarist. Ben, you're a great keyboardist. And then I'm sure there are lots of people out there that are accomplished musicians. But I think what we've got now is the ability to cover all diversities. And I think at the end of the day, and I think a lot of people have said it, it's something that I love doing. It's my escape. It's my passion. It's my drug. It's a lot of things. And I don't really think people that say, well, I'm a producer, I'm an engineer, I don't really think they've thought about really what they're trying to say. I think what they're trying to say is I have an input in music. I create music.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer people, instead of saying I'm a producer, when they're people like us, to say I'm a musician, or I'm a creator, a music creator. And that's a multifaceted thing. You can be a guitarist, a keyboard player, a drummer, a bass player, a singer. You can use Logic Cubase, or you can use a multi-track tape recorder. You can use acoustic instruments or electronic instruments. You set up your own mics and do everything like that. Whether you're expert at any of those is beside the point. The fact that you do all that and have some kind of output at the end of it, which is something that you've created, you feel proud of, that's the most important thing. What your job title is by the by, really. But it's interesting. I've always had this thing about the word producer being misappropriated by a great many people, because I think that it's a specific job title. But then I'm just old-fashioned, and that's just me.
But then if the person that's at home making music fulfills those roles, then they are. I think that the distasteful thing is when you see people of usually certain types and genres bragging about that they're a producer and they don't really have anything to show for it. Of course, that's distasteful. You're like, well, where's your stuff? But if you think about the home musician who goes through that process, they have a very difficult job, much more difficult than the big band or professional musician would have, because those people have people around them to help them succeed. And when you're doing it at home, you do have to, like as Simon was saying, you have to wear a lot of hats. And so it often requires you to think, and it's easier to tell other people what to do and to see what their faults are, where it's a lot harder to do it for yourself. And so, somebody that can master that and make good music at home is somebody to be admired and is worthy of the title. And, there are people that, well, how do we, as a definition of that producer, how do you then delineate how much money needs to be made before they're officially a producer?
Yeah.
I don't think if I met Nile Rodgers on the number 14 bus, I'd say, hello, Nile, I'm a producer. What do you do? That's where I definitely wouldn't turn around to him and say, Cryss is right. There's producers and there's producers, and I think the definition there can be a substantial difference between the Nile Rodgers producers and the home studio producers.
I would never describe myself as a producer ever, and haven't and never will, because I just I still think that is a specific role in the music business. Maybe it's become a different role, and maybe Rob, it's been re-specified. But
I'm not being funny here.
You are.
We're from a certain generation.
This is true.
Now, my son, who's 18 years old, his idea of a producer is exactly what we've.
Same as mine.
It's sitting by a little, an MPC or something and making a beat.
Yeah.
To them, it's not Steve Levine, whereas to you and I, it's Steve Levine. So,
So we've actually kind of gotten off topic because the role of, or who can be called producer, was not even in the question here. Oh. So the question again was, as technology seems to me to be blurring the lines between producer and synthesis, do you find yourself performing the roles of engineer, producer, programmer, and hopefully musician more and more?
But you do it again. I think at home
do all that anyway.
Do it all. Yeah, you do it all.
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that we all have our own,
which is good.
Yeah, I mean, Ben works with a group of people on a regular basis.
I think it has always been that way, really, because even back in the 80s when I had a CS5 and a Casio, so I had very, very little understanding of music technology in any way, shape or form, but I was the keyboard player. So when we went into the studio, it was like, go on then. And it's like, what? It's like, well, you must know how all this works, and you don't, but people presume that you can go in and work with the desk and sequences that's there, and understand that everything all runs through SMPTE and it's all synced together, and you need to put a click track down. This is all things that you learn in time. This is the craft. But nowadays, it's all the tools are there in front of you. So as a synth player, I should imagine in any band you would be the one that is in control of recordings. And as it's been said in the chat, video editing, website design, poster making, it's
marketing,
everything tends to come to the synthesist.
But you see, going back to the old days, Ben, synthesizers, and when I first started getting into, they were little monophonic things with no presets or anything, so you had to be a synthesist because you turned it on. And it wouldn't make anything except a bleep sound. Nowadays, of course, if you go out and buy a Pro 3 or something like that, how many thousands of sounds has it got? You don't need to be a synthesist. So I think, again, possibly different eras have different attributes to them.
And for different instruments as well, because I think how much more the synth community is connected to recording in general. I mean, I'm making a very broad statement here, but it seems like there's the hardware, DAW-less jammers, but those that aren't that and that are a little more into computers, it's like really you're watching videos on recording, you're figuring out how compression works and how to master, and you're doing a lot of skills that people 30 years ago wouldn't have had really a whole lot of access to training on unless you worked in a studio. But I see in the guitar community there seems to be a little bit less focus on that. In fact, when you just click on the random from a forum, you click on the random demo, and it's some guy who's doing it on his iPhone. You're like, this sounds terrible. Like, well, why didn't you mic it up and record it? Like, they have no clue. They just play guitar. There's a lot more of that in other fields, it seems like. Now there are, of course, again, there's lots of guitarists that are really deep into recording and they're fantastically good at it. But it seems like that there's a certain bent towards in synthesis, with synthesis to be tracking and recording and to fill some of those other roles as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we've covered a gamut of stuff there, and the debate can continue on the Facebook page. If you find Ben's question, it's in there. By all means, continue the debate in there. I think we've all got our own kind of definitions of it. I'm definitely, hands up. I'm an old man. I'm traditionalist. Other people see it in different ways. At the end of the day, as Cryss said, whether you're banging out a tune on plastic, drum, oil drums, or using, Logic and instruments, you're a musician if you're making music. That's that at the end of the day. But yes, thank you guys for your input on that one. Let's whiz through a few more news topics, because don't forget, coming up, we've also got the announcement of the winner of our competition. To win a copy, one of 3 copies of Pulsar Modular's Lunar Lander plugin, which is incredibly good. So we'll be announcing that a little bit later on. But before we do, just a few little quick topics here. Nothing massively important, but things that I think we should have our attention brought to. So this is one guy that I is the only guy now that I subscribe to on Patreon. And he's called Dan. He goes under the name of Reverb Machine, and he does some really great stuff. He breaks down tracks, to instrument level, and says this is how you can recreate it in, Arturia's V collection or Tal Juno X or whatever. But he's just done a whole bunch of presets, and I think we're all on an Oberheim kick at the moment for the Arturia OBXAV, 180s themed presets, and these are very obviously 80s, and they are very obviously referencing things like Dove Cry strings and 99 Balloons bass, Baby Be Mine, Axel F, Holiday, Fade to Grey, every little thing she does, Newman strings, Radio Gaga. I mean, there's a whole bunch. There's 100 presets in here, and it's a measly $17. And let's have a listen to a little demo here. Distinctly synthwave in its style, but just take a look at some of those patches there. Now, he's not claiming that these songs used OBXAs in them, but he's managed to do some really good recreations of some of these patches. In that pack, and it's a measly $17 and less. You get and it is less if you subscribe. You can use a 25% discount code as well, which makes it even cheaper. Anyone use those? Try those at all, or was it just me?
I was going through the demos before. I am intending on downloading it.
I think it'd be right up your street, mate.
Yeah, it's gonna 17 quid. It could save me like hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
Instead of messing about trying to do something myself, I've got either the finished article or a really, really good starting point with those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's well worth me getting that. Very useful. But he's tutorial things as well, where he does the song breakdown and that.
Yeah,
they're excellent. I found like some really good information in there.
Yeah.
For tracks that I've been working on, and very, very, very helpful. It's definitely worth the patron.
Well, it's like £4 a month on Patreon, and there's only one level. And he's done Tears for Fears breakdowns, Prince stuff, Tom York, Radiohead, Solange, Tyler the Creator, Chromatics, Tame Impala, and he'll take you through recreating these patches, and then also you can download MIDI files, Ableton sets, and other things. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, there's a lot of benefit in there. But I just thought I'd throw that out there. Cryss, Simon, any thoughts on that before we move on? Or
just before we do move on, there is a great YouTube video, and you reminded me when you mentioned Fade to Grey. It's done by Chris Payne, who was the original author and wrote pretty much all the music to Fade to Grey, and he runs through how he did it. It was more of an accident than they basically did it in sort of their spare time, him and Rusty Egan. But watch it; it's fascinating, and he goes through the instruments he uses, which is quite surprising, but it's a really good video.
And Rusty's got a new album out as well, Blitzed, from the documentary about the Blitz Club.
Yeah, wasn't that good?
Yeah,
really was good.
Really good.
Sorry, getting back to that. I only listened to the demo that I could see on the YouTube page, and I thought there were fantastic sounds. Yes, Oberheim-y. I wouldn't say that they're definitely OBX sounds or whatever, but they sound great, and if you're into that type of thing, then for $17 it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cryss, thoughts? Anything? No?
Yeah, no.
No? Let's do another quick one. This one is just there's nothing we can really say about this because it is just a picture, but it's a new picture. It's new pictures of Kodamo's VFM now billed as workstations. So as you probably know, if you're a follower of this channel, myself and Simon and Manny as well, we all bought our Essence FMs and got those delivered the other week. But before they arrived, they announced this VFM, and they said a slightly different direction with FM. And now they're calling them workstations. So they've not really gone into huge specifics about what the workstations contain, but it will be FM based. So some interesting new renders there. Obviously, the buttons look a little bit bigger than they ought to be, but 37 and 61 note keyboards. Watch this space. They reckon late 2021, early 2022. So Kodamo.org, I think, is the web address. Let's just double check. Yeah, Kodamo.org.
I don't know much about the Essence FM, but from what I've seen you using, those controls look laid out remarkably similar.
They are very similar. There's some slight differences, and I guess that's because of the workstation vibe that's going on here. But it looks like they're going to employ the touchscreen again, the same kind of user interface with the soft knobs. Makes me chuckle, that does. But yeah, it looks, and there's this kind of continuing trend of a 37 and a 61 note version. But watch this space, I guess, is the answer there.
It's going to be very, very similar to the Essence FM. Looking at
I'm saving. I'm starting to save because they said on their website that this was going to be different to Essence FM. So it's going to be FM but different. So I'll see how different, and I'll save the money.
I noticed on there it said which is going to use a combination of FM and additional tricks.
Yes.
I don't know what they mean by that. That's quite interesting.
No.
With it being a workstation.
That's a good idea, though, I think, because I think if he just carries on with the Essence thing, he might wear it out a little bit. I'm not,
Well, yeah, I mean, FM is definitely back with a bang. So
cosmetically, though, I think it could do with a few.
But it's early days, isn't it?
Yeah, but
I mean, I think I was going back and I saw some early pictures of the Essence FM, and it looked, didn't look as nice as it does.
I wouldn't know, Rob.
Yeah. Right, let's move on. Let's because Cryss has been sad. I know Cryss he went off on one there, which was all good. He's probably just recovering from that. Let's bring him back in because he's our resident pedal expert. And it looks like Dreadbox have begun to release a new series or an updated series of pedal effects. And kicking off the Komo Rebi, I'm hoping I say that right, which they say is an untranslatable Japanese term for the way that sunlight glints through the leaves of a certain type of tree. It's brilliantly Japanese and very odd. But Cryss, this is a chorus flanger. They've also got a new stereo delay looper, stereo reverb, 8-stage phaser and compressor filter, which are all blurred out in this graphic for some reason. I don't know why, because when you hover over them, it tells you what it is. But the Komo Rebi is the one there. What are your thoughts on this and how it might benefit keyboard players?
Yeah, so I discovered that they, I guess, had an original line of pedals, and they're just going through and updating them again. So the chorus is the first one that's been announced, and you can actually click on that page, and it gives a full page for just the chorus flanger.
It does indeed, yeah.
Probably the most interesting things is it's got CV inputs on it, which I think would be very friendly to synthesis. I give them high marks for putting a delay time control on a chorus pedal, which is nice. I wasn't really that thrilled with the sound of it, to be honest. Like, it didn't really move me in a good way, and so I'll probably pass on them. It's not anything that I need. I'm pretty set with pedals. But the interesting part of it is that it does seem to be a little bit more synthesizer-centric, perhaps.
Yeah.
Versus most pedals, which tend to hit towards the guitar community. And of course, there's so many pedals that you just use them on anything and they're going to work fine. There's Strymons so popular in both worlds, but there are a bunch of guitar players there, but they're slowly branching out into more synthesizer stuff. So something like this is something that does seem to be a little bit more aimed at synth players, which is interesting.
Wagyu has just clarified my poor recollection there. It literally means tree leaking sun, Komo Rebi. There you go. Interesting. We often talk about pedals on the show and how they can be used in synthesis. Looks like Ben's gone off for a Jimmy. Simon, any thoughts on this? You're not a big pedal guy,
I agree with Cryss, actually. I didn't want to appear to be the sort of black sheep of the family. I didn't like the sound of it. It sounded hard. I think a chorus pedal, and bearing in mind, I know sort of modern tech is a little bit, maybe it's not that difficult to emulate. I mean, a BBD is such a simple device. It's just capacitors, but that, when I listened to it, I thought sounded very sharp at the edges, whereas as a chorus needs to be sort of rounded edges and smooth, and I mean that in a sort of, in terms of making the sound warm. Surprising from Dreadbox, because they've come up with some really good stuff in the past. Synths obviously being their forte, and it kind of isn't that cheap, is it? €200 for a little box?
€200.
Yeah,
Yikes.
I don't know. Sorry?
Yeah, I said yikes. That's too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it's just got. Dreadbox stuff isn't cheap anyway, but that kind of looks to me like it wants to be about $99, if that. And I'm glad of Cryss's input from guitars, because that's a guess where you'd really sort of feel the warmth of it. But I don't know. No, for me, I'm sad to say that got a thumbs down, because I just didn't like the sound.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't really have an opinion. This is not something I would be getting into. Ben, you much the same? Or?
I'm a bit like you there, Rob.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I had just come across this the other day, which is a chorus pedal that I built, and it's a clone of Electro-Harmonix small clone, but then I shifted the frequency response and added a delay time control to it. Oh, and of course, I think the small clone, I can't remember, I think it just has a rate knob. It's been a long time, but Bucket Brigade chorus pedals are really cheap to make. So I would kind of feel like it would be better with a little bit better sound and for a lower price. As Simon said, maybe $99 would be something that would make it more interesting to people. If you're into Euro rack, I always recommend the Strymon AA1, which is a 4 HP little module, and it's basically an effects loop. It has level shifts in it. So that, Euro rack runs such high levels, it'll drop it by 18 decibels. You then can route out from the 1/4-inch jacks into whatever pedals you have. I could stick this, I could run Euro rack stuff through this or Strymon stuff or whatever, and then you can bring it back into the rack and it'll boost the volume back up so that you can make the most of the stuff that you already have. So for me as a guitar player, I've got lots of pedals already. So if I need effects, it makes a lot more sense than buying an overpriced Euro Rack's effects type stuff where, they're just horribly expensive, way too expensive. You can just get and use the pedals that you already have or the little effects boxes. Like Rob, you have some little box that does effects also, and that's the kind of thing that. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, that
NTS one.
Yeah. Things like that, or even the Dreadbox Typhon has an effects engine from Synevibes, and you can route it to your other stuff via this.
Yeah. There you go then. That's what was that? Dreadbox. Komo Rebi. Sorry, just
Orange BBD.
Yes.
Chorus box. Expensive.
Shall we do? Let's do this. It's going to lead into our competition announcement. So you might remember a few weeks back we had a little competition giveaway because our friends at Pulsar Modular had come up with this new thing called the P914 FFB fixed filter bank, which is based off the classic Moog modular module. That's recently, today, had an update along with Lunar Lander, which was the other plugin, which was this wonderful effects plugin. Let's bring the page up of that, shall we? Here we go. So this is the one. The FFB was good, but we really fell in love with this. This is kind of like a 3-in-1 combo virtual pedal, as they describe it, with a bucket brigade, analog delay, 3 lush plate reverbs, and a true tube saturation. So they've updated this today to version 2.1, which adds in low pass filter in the delay module and sync mod rate to the clock rate. So that's a nice. I've downloaded it, haven't tried it, so I can't say. I can't sort of comment on the new features, but it's a really, really, really great sound. And I think Ben was saying that it's like he uses it on everything that he's doing at the moment. Like every track has got an instance of this on. And of course, this must be quite satisfying, Cryss, that your video is the first one on their demo page. And let's listen to this because it is good. And then it just decides to stop. Oh, there you go. But yeah, anyway, we get the idea. If you want to go, now it says video unavailable. That's useful. If you want to hear more on that, Synthient Sound on YouTube, and you can check out the entire video of that and just turn all the lights off and watch that. It's very good.
It is a great demo.
It's a really good demo.
The Lunar Lander is all over that track. On almost everything, and then the acoustic guitar features the fixed filter bank, which ended up, I thought, was really great.
Yeah.
When I first heard it, I thought that you'd use the Moog One as the the lead sound, and I asked you in private, what was it? And I've got to say I was so surprised because I thought you can just hear that it sounds so like rich and analogy and nice. And when I asked him, he said it's the Arturia CS80 that's doing the lead. I was like, damn.
So I was going to use my Blade Runner patch that I had created, and I I thought, well, heck, I haven't used the Arturia at all, and this would be a kind of a fun one to, because that's definitely the sound. And the Moog one does it so well; it really nails it. But I thought, well, I'll try to see if I can nail it in the plugin. But then you have that nice Lunar Lander plate reverb and the analog delay on it. It sounded really good.
I have literally used it on everything.
Yeah, it's a really, really useful thing. And they've also updated the fixed filter bank, which introduces delaying the left and right signal independently by up to 99 milliseconds for awesome effects when blended with the source signal, and the output gain from negative 12 dB to plus 12 dB. So that's both of those got an update today. Now, a few weeks ago, we gave away 3 copies of the fixed filter bank to 3 very lucky winners. I think Sasquatch was one of them, Greg was another. The third one the name escapes me at the moment, but
was it Jason Crouch maybe?
Oh yes, it was because it was Diana and Jason Crouch, wasn't it? That's it. So hopefully those guys are loving it. But the guys at Pulsar Modular, to celebrate the updated releases of both of these, have been incredibly generous and have decided to give us 3 copies of Lunar Lander. So now you guys, or certainly 3 of you, will be able to really enjoy the what we've been raving about for a while now. And we decided to make this a really simple thing. All you had to do was just tell us how many different types of plate reverb that there were on the Lunar Lander, and of course the answer was 3. And then we asked you for a tiebreaker. It was just a very simple thing. Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because, and then you had to finish that in 50 words or less. And we had some really interesting responses. So, for example, here, Rob Witterick, Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because they're... and this would polish them turds nicely. Godric Wilkie, Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because Buzz Aldrin expanded our universe in a similar way. I like the space theme there. Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because Ben Simpson says so. Wow. So there you go. There's validation if you ever need it. Andrew Brooks says, to be honest, I need all the help I can get to improve the rubbish I usually produce. And there were various others. But before the show, with an independent adjudicator, which was Simon, we went through and we picked out 3 winners based on the fact that they, A, got the question right, and B, provided us with what we thought were amusing quotes. And the first one to win a copy of Lunar Lander is Matthew J. Pereira, whose quote was... the intro is Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because I've lost it now. There it is. Like a child of the 60s who dreamt of walking on the moon, this plugin is that small step to tranquility base that can bring that reality closer. So well done, Matthew. You've won a copy of that. The next person to win a copy is Paul Bugby, whose response was Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because all my chihuahuas will be transformed into Dobermans. This is my goal in life. And if you're wondering where that comes from, then you have to visit the Pulsar Modular website. And that's what he did. And so, yes, that's how he came up with his response. And that won him a copy of Lunar Lander. And the third winner was
me,
Dave...
because I don't have one.
Sorry, no, you're excluded, I'm afraid. The third winner was David Barron, who says Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because my synthesizers crave to be engulfed in magic moon dust. So there you go. There are 3 winners, Matthew, Paul and David. We will let you guys know on the Facebook page as well. But if you are watching, is any of these guys watching? I don't know. Let us know.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah. We will be in touch with your individual codes that you can then go to the Pulsar Modular store and redeem for a 100% discount on a copy of the Lunar Lander plugin. Congratulations to you, and a huge thanks to Ziad from Pulsar Modular, who's been incredibly generous and really loves giving these things away. And thank you ever so much for helping us on the show and giving this stuff to give to our friends.
And just 2 quick things. I'll mention the runner-up in all of this, which was one that you already read, which was Andy Dixon. Lunar Lander would improve my tracks because Ben Simpson says so. Good enough for me. And we had to disqualify you because you did not also add in Simon, Robbie, and Cryss to that statement. I'm sorry. It was a very nice statement.
It was close, but that was the deciding factor, yeah.
The other thing is that the new updates have been really cool, and he's talked with us about other things that are upcoming with Lunar Lander. Now, I've had so little time this week that the only two things that I got to try was I made sure I tried the motor, the AudioThing's motor, and Lunar Lander, because that's one of my favorites. And so there's the low pass filter and some of the tweaking of the analog engine in there is sounding really good. In fact, I'm looking forward. I know what's coming in the next update, and I'm really excited about it. But also, Fixed Filter Bank is getting some new features too, with being able to add some delay to each of the sides. So, really looking forward to trying that out, and we do really recommend them highly. I said I'm using this in my music really regularly now.
And it's also worth pointing out that once you've got a copy of this, certainly within this version, all updates are included. So when an update comes out, so it's a 2 point something or a 2, it's free. So you'll benefit from all of those as well. So congratulations to you three. That once again, that is Matthew, Paul, and David. We will be in touch to get you those codes ASAP.
I voted for Dominic, but of course, a favouritism. I was outvoted, Dom. So sorry, mate.
Dom's
I thought your one was legend, mate, but they wouldn't let me have it. So.
Yeah.
No, they're very good. And look out, stay tuned, because we will have more plug-in giveaways coming very soon. Can't say any more than that, but we will have more cracking stuff, and I mean really good stuff to give to you guys coming very, very soon, within the next couple of 3 weeks, I think, something like that. Stay tuned. Right, what have we got next? We've done that. Let's have a look at Faded Instruments. Never heard of these guys before, or girls, whoever they might be. LitBit is this lovely little, very cheap again, kind of bit crushing plugin. Like I'm not wonderfully keen on bit crushers, but this actually sounds quite good. And there is a video demo of this. Let's play this one. Let's bring this up on screen. Ever the professional, got the wrong thing there. Let's do that and this, and make sure we share the audio. And here we go. So I think we get the idea of what that does. It crushes your bits, but in slightly different ways. It's got this breathe function in there, which is interesting. Crinkle functions do, and a seizure-inducing interface that flashes and squiggles all over the place, but it's quite nice to look at. I've not had a chance to play with this. Has anybody got any thoughts on this one?
Not my thing.
Not your thing, Cryss?
So normally I would say bit crushing is not my thing. I usually don't find it to be that terribly musical. But the thing that I liked about this is that it had those other controls. Like it has, I think it was the 2 in the top center, have put it under envelope control. And when they started using it that way, I thought, well, this might be something kind of interesting to be able to do, where you can have it automated because of that envelope control. I don't remember what the other ones were, if they were LFOs or whatever, but it sounded pretty decent, and I think I forget what the price was, but it seems like it was really cheap. I was thinking about getting it. Let me see if I still have that page up.
Where would you use that, Cryss?
Probably, I would probably use it on more percussive elements, like some sort of drum stuff. I think this might be really cool on either synth drums, which are very artificial anyway, or I love running acoustic drum sounds through plugins like this or Output Portal or things like that, where you can really mangle them up and have some fun. Where they have you have a sense that they're acoustic drums, but they're just so crazily mangled and they sound interesting like that. The only thing I needed to take a look at this plugin is I don't know if it had a mix control or not, which would have been very handy to have, again, as you're mixing elements together. But of course, you can just use it on an auxiliary track. So I thought, for something that's, I think it was fairly. Do you find the price on there, Robbie?
Yeah, $14.20,
Yeah.
which is an odd
So,
price.
I mean, with some of this stuff, I've got a lot of plugins, and what I'm really finding is that, like, you might have half dozen things that do the same thing, but when you're creating music, you want to be inspired by it, and sometimes you can have something that's really great sounding, but because of the interface, it's a little bit harder to work with, and so you don't tend to go for it so much. If you have something that's sometimes a very simple interface, but it does the things that you want to do, or there's just something slightly different about the sound or the interface, then you end up picking it out of all of the ones that you have. And so sometimes it's like this with these plugins that are very inexpensive. You get a good bit of fun of trying new things out, and there's always something in the toolbox for you that, like, when you're wanting to experiment or do something different, that you just go start searching through your list of plugins and, like, finding those things that are in the corners that you forgot about, and you pull them out and have some fun with them. But I think ultimately I like to kind of sample a number of different things to find out which is the particular version of this effect that's going to really work for me, because I have one that's a lot nicer than this. I think I have the what's that called, Crush Pro, and I'm forgetting the brand right now, but it's a really nice. It has LFOs and envelopes to it, but I just haven't found it to be that inspiring to use. Whereas this seems like they really got into this really quickly, and it was making cool sounds. And again, I'm not a huge Bit Crusher person.
Yeah.
I find the use of it to be limited. I don't think that you stick that on a pad and it's going to sound awful. You know what I mean? But percussive sounds definitely, and I've found, I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but I found that this works for me when I'm analysing the 80s tunes, and that there's like particular like textures to percussive sounds that the only way that I can get a recreation of that is by bit crushing it. And I think it's because the stuff wasn't that great at the time.
Is it like a modern day version of what they used to do with circuit bending and stuff like that, or is it different? I mean, I don't know. To me, it just sounds a little bit sort of percussive distortion, but sort of over distorted. Again, it's not my thing, but I can see where you can use it on percussion. And I do remember, because back in the day, you used to see all these drum machines add buttons all round the side where they frigged around. They called that circuit bending. And again, I don't know whether it's a similar thing or completely different.
Well, bit crushing is essentially a plug or an effect that is designed to simulate reducing the sample rate of something from, say, nice pristine 16 or 24-bit down to 8-bit or 4-bit or even even lower in some cases. And it's a lot of people used to say, I bit crush my samples to make them sound like an S950 or an emulator or a Fairlight because they were low bit rate, and yet bit crushing for me never achieved what they were kind of setting out to do. Now it's a much more kind of creative tool that you can apply to anything. It just it's not so much about recreating the old sounds. It's about creating new stuff. But it's not my cup of tea.
Sounds painful. I don't want my bits crushed.
No, indeed.
Well, I think it falls into the kind of category of more chaotic effects like distortion or wave shaping, where it's kind of a mangling of the sound. Now, circuit bending, I mean, it's not the same thing as bit crushing. It's more taking whatever circuit it is. It could be a totally analog circuit and connecting it in ways. Usually what I've seen people do is that they don't know what electronics do, and so they randomly connect parts of the circuit and end up with weird oscillations that are, again, kind of chaotic in nature to be able to produce an effect like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just another timbre or texture to put into your music, whether that's good or bad.
It's a quite unique thing, isn't it? And I think it doesn't suit every style of music. It's certain
It's
bits.
definitely good as a spurringly used effect. Like a little bit here and there on a drum fill or whatever. I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
Could
absolutely.
you use it on a
adds a bit of
guitar,
punch.
Chris? Sorry, Ben, I didn't mean to. Can you put
it's
it on a
okay,
guitar? Will it work on a guitar or not?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
if you were sort of strumming a guitar or doing short picks, would it work? Or
so even the Strymon Mobius had things like bit crushing on there. Now this might be interesting because if you're not, probably strumming would be a little bit too fast to make it an interesting effect. But if you're playing something that's a little bit slower and percussive, having those envelopes control the bit crusher and affect the amount of bit crushing or what it's doing over the sweep, just like you would with an envelope affecting a filter or anything else in a synthesizer. Like, it's just a way to change the timbre over time, which to me is a lot more interesting than a static bit crushing effect, which is just all kind of gristly and whatnot. It's that kind of it reminds me of a similar effect, like the Yamaha CS80 has that wonderful ring modulator, and when you hear people play it and they engage that sweep of the ring modulator, it's such a beautiful and odd and sci-fi type of sound to it. I think this is be the kind of a similar thing, not the same effect, but in a similar way. Like, you could take other instruments and kind of bend them in that kind of way.
I actually, again, slightly off piece, Ben, you reminded me, I mentioned that you used to gig with the CS80. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that right? You used to gig with the CS80?
We never got as far as gigging with it. We rehearsed with it, which was enough. Yeah.
Did you see the one that sold in the week for 37 grand?
No, I didn't.
Frightening. God. Sorry, I just thought I'd say
It's scary.
37 grand. Wow.
Indeed. Talking of which, there is a new Vemia auction being added to at the moment. There's one or two things I have my eye on, and there's some really interesting bits in there. Some quite rare things coming up in there. It seems, I think it looks like he's having a bit of a clear out of all the kind of the small junky bits, rather than, I think the last auction had loads of really good instruments, and whereas this seems to be lots of spare parts and magazines or brochures or manuals and videos. And
be interesting to see how the Brexit thing affects him, because I know Peter Forrest, who runs it, is so upset, like we all are, with what it's done to import and export from this little island, but we won't go into that.
Indeed. Well, yes, indeed. Anyway, we have got about 10 minutes or so left. I just thought I'd bring this one to people's attention because I guess it's a limited audience, and I guess, yes, it's Rob and his FM thing again. But I found this really quite interesting. So for those people that don't know, the DX1 and the DX5 were bi-timbral, so you could have two sounds going, but essentially two DX7s in one box, and they all came with performance patches. These performance patches were only available on the DX1 and the DX5, but a friend of mine who goes under the name of 12op on YouTube said to me a few weeks ago, he said, I fancy recreating these on a DX7 too, which is similarly bi-timbral. And what he's done is he's taken all the original presets from the DX1, DX5, which are both the same, and then layered them up in the DX7 Mark II as per the performance patch settings from those original instruments, and he's made them available completely free of charge. So if you own a DX7 Mark II, you can now get all of those really nice performance patches, which have this really nice kind of quality to them because it's essentially, multi-timbral or bi-timbral anyway. And you can go and watch the video on YouTube, which seems to be having problems with me at the moment. So 128 patches, 128 voices, 64 performances, all available there. All that wonderful FM goodness. You can recreate all completely free of charge. You get a nice little PDF in there as well. Go to the YouTube page and you'll find the download link in the description. Does this interest anyone, or is this just me indulging?
No, I thought it was great, but I'm curious about how he's done it. How has he gone about? Has he reprogrammed them, or has he converted them?
So the performance patches in a DX1 and 5 were essentially two voices layered or split, and then with a particular settings applied to them that was stored in the performance patch memory. So the voices were just the standard voices from the internal memory or the carts, and then the performances were just tweaks to various settings that you could just instantly recall them. And all he's done is I supplied him with the DX5 performance manual, and he's just recreated those in the DX7 Mark II, right. And he's kind of given them some DX7 Mark II specific tweaks, so you can use the control sliders to affect certain things which you couldn't. Well, you could sort of do on the DX5 and DX1.
So this wasn't possible at the time because the DX7 was only like monotimbral. Yeah. Until you got to the Mark II. And now it's possible because of that.
It's been possible since 1987 when the Mark II came out. But it doesn't seem that anybody's done it. And because being a DX5 owner, I've been looking out for performance patches, and it turns out that it was only last year that the first ever third-party performance patches for the DX5 were released. So it took from 1985 to 2020 for them to, sort of somebody to come up with third-party patches for the DX5.
It took them that long to sell out, do it?
Well, yes, very true. No, that one sounds like a doorbell. Hey, if I don't say it, somebody else will.
I would be interested in that, but I've only got the TX802. I haven't, and I know that that's similar, but it's not.
Yeah,
bi-timbral, is it? It's like
multi-timbral. It's 8 parts.
Multi-timbral, isn't it?
Yeah.
You should be able to do it. If you could do it on the DX7 you must be able to load those in the TX802, surely.
You'll be able to load them in. The performances might be, because obviously the performance patches on the 802 are slightly different to the Mark II DX7 because of the extra 6 voices that you get in. Yeah, but it's tweakable, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yes, great. There you go. Free of charge, 12 op, so 12-OP on the YouTube. And subscribe to his channel because he's got loads of great stuff, and he's a fellow FM. Me and he go off and we root out old libraries that seem to have been lost, and we try and collect them up, and we have some future plans for those. Anyway, Andrew Brooks says in the chat room, TX802 is multo-timbral. Is that a combination of mono and multi? Or yeah, not quite sure. But it's multi-timbral. 8 parts. Last but not least, this is just from this is being complete. I'm sorry, but being completely self-indulgent here. I've had a new podcast released, and I really, really, really enjoyed doing this one. This is David Gamson. Ex of Scritti Politti, and I had a really nice chat with him. But he's not just Scritti Politti. I mean, this guy has worked with Luther, Chaka Khan, Michelle Indigiocello, George Benson, and of course more recently Kelly Clarkson, which he won didn't win the Grammy, he got a Grammy nomination for Song of the Year or something. So he's been doing a lot of stuff, and that's now on the Sound on Sound podcast channel. But we talked about all things Scritti Politti, the brilliance of Cupid's Psyche, and working with Arif Mardin and all of those guys, and then the pain of making the follow-up Provision, which by all accounts was really quite painful, but he tells you more in the podcast. And that's available now on all major podcast channels and all the minor ones as well. Of course, you can go to soundonsound.com/SOS podcast. It's all there. Just a quick plug. So please go and develop it. There's some really, really good other good stuff on there.
Plenty of Fairlight talk in there, is there?
Not really, no, because Fairlight really wasn't. They used it on Cupid and Psyche 85, but more for like embellishments and colours. I think was the word that he used.
I was under the impression that album was Fairlight. You know, there was.
No. I was too.
Quite surprising actually what kit they didn't have, because they sort of begged, borrowed, and stole it, didn't
Pretty
they?
much everything was borrowed or loaned in.
Wow.
The Fairlight was Simon Climie, who'd borrowed it off Steve Lillywhite. Yeah. So, it was all very, sort of cobbled together, shall we say. But, I always thought, I say this in the podcast, that I would always cite that album, Cupid and Psyche, as the best example of synthesizer sequencing that ever was, because it's so precise, the syncopation and the just the what's the word? I can't even think of the word now. But the arrangements and everything were just so perfect and precise. But of course, this was half the album was made pre-MIDI, so none of it was sequenced. Well, a lot of it wasn't sequenced. It was all played live to they'd get a drum machine, set that going, and then they would play it live and do it until they got it into that kind of machine-like quality. And it was just staggering that they achieved that sound at that time in terms of technology. It's just utterly brilliant. Yeah, one of the greatest albums of all time.
I never realised what kind of work gone into it. I just thought, oh yeah, that's what a Fairlight sounds like. I thought it was like the native dance preset or something. I thought that was the Fairlight's equivalent of it, and he just sang over it. So.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about Provision with the follow-up, which I thought was heavily synclavier, was synclavier was only used for the drums in that, and everything else was...
DMX, wasn't it? He said, Rob, didn't he?
There was a DMX.
and
that was on Cupid and Psyche. But I think on Provision, Matrix 12, TX816, Super Jupiters, it was... And he talks about the way he got that bass sound, that really punchy bass sound is not just FM, it's FM and analog layered and MIDI'd up. It's just, it's so clever what they did. It's just, really good stuff. Anyway, anybody got anything else before we say goodnight?
Just, Dom, Mr. Wiggly, has mentioned Tin Drum, which is one of my all-time favourite albums. Richard Barbieri, I beg your pardon, has put a YouTube video up of the new Prophet 5 desktop. He's got his original Rev 3.3, but what he's done on this desktop is he's tried to recreate a lot of the 1981 sort of sounds that he used on Ghosts and stuff that he did back in the 80s, and it is well worth a listen.
Is that on his own channel, is it?
His own YouTube channel, Richard Barbieri, and he's only done it the other day. It's very, very good.
Sounds great.
It's well worth a little listen. Yeah,
seen that, because that's going to be super.
Yeah, so I don't know whether Sequential have donated him a rack, because he's one of the him and Mick Kahn, they all were big Sequential Circuits and Oberheim pioneers. I think the OBX features heavily, but that and the Prophet 5, and he's got one of the new desktop jobbies, and it's there you go. Yeah, it's very, very good.
Let's have a quick listen.
Have a little listen. It's really good. Yeah. Can't hear it.
You can't hear that? Oh, sorry. That's me. I swear I put share sound on there. Let's try again. There. And that. And share the audio. And we'll try that again. Yeah?
Yeah, that's good. That's very Tin Drum, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, you never hear anybody using a Prophet 5 like that, other than Richard Barbieri.
I know, yeah. It's
and Thompson Twins.
That was all OBXA.
But they also used the Prophet 5, didn't they? And Into the Gap.
They did, but a lot of that was for live work. Most of the actual songs were done 90% on an
Oh.
OBXA.
You sure it wasn't for Prophet T8s?
Oh yeah. Did you? By the way, do you know a friend of ours, Rob, sold them?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. No, I'd always kind of got Thompson Twins down as a Prophet 5 because a lot of those kind of weird, kind of, should we say, Oriental type sounds that seem to really excel at.
No, it's Tom Bailey was a big OBXA user. They did have a Prophet 5 and obviously the 48s, but most of it was written on OBXA, and that's documented in Abernathy's book because he interviews Tom about that, and Ian Stanley as well, which again is a guy. But again, the other video, Chris Payne, who was also a very early Prophet 5 user, but that thing about Fade to Grey, and if you're a Moog fan, you'll be mind blown because it's ridiculous the sounds he got out of that. Really well worth watching.
I am lusting after a Rev 4 Prophet 5. I don't often lust after. Yeah, it's
Marshall's got one, hasn't he, Chris? Marshall just bought
Marshall
one,
got the Prophet 10, didn't he?
Did he? Oh,
yeah.
Marshall has everything. He's the up and coming Simon.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
I've always fancied a Prophet 5, even though I obsess about digital. But it's just always been one of those synthesizers.
You know, they are coming up second hand, and there was one on Gumtree that was reasonably cheap, and they will come down in value. And I think, again, you know, it's great that you've got the reliability now because you do not want to go near a vintage one. And I can tell you that from many years of just, you know, they do go wrong and they're expensive. If you can't fix them yourself, they are expensive. So now that they've come up with but I haven't touched one. I would dearly love to have a play with one and just see if it is. I mean, listening to what Richard Barbieri's done, it sounds very good. But you know, you always want to do your own AB, really, don't you?
So I have this on my watch list.
I didn't know that was up there. Where, is that a? Oh, that's a new one, isn't it?
That's a Prophet 10, serial number 0288. It's the starting price of 52 quid. It's now up to 620. It will go beyond that, but it's like apparently the guy that bought it didn't realise they were going to do a keyboardless version and has gone for that instead. And so he's just selling this. But
I think again that's like the Moog one. It's a lovely looking piece of furniture. Isn't it? It's just, you know.
But this one probably won't creak after half an hour of being turned on. Or,
no.
No,
I've just replaced the power supply in my original 3.3, which was half a day's work, but it was well worth doing because that's the problem with all this kit now that's getting old. 90% of it is the power supplies, and if you know one rail goes down and that, the damage it does inside is make you cry.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to affect the sale of the originals. You know,
they don't seem to have gone. Yeah, they don't seem to have gone down much, Ben. I mean, they're still sort of. I mean, Rev 3s now are like $6,000 up. That's pounds, not dollars. I mean, $8,000. You look on Reverb, it's just like when the Mini Moog, the reissue came out. Everyone thought, well, you know, that's going to bring the originals down. I don't think it has.
Doesn't seem to happen at all, does it?
No,
really?
No, it doesn't. You've still got the people that want the originals, and when you know you look at CS80s going for 37 grand, I don't see an end to this.
No. Yeah. I mean, everyone said the SH101 would fall in price once Behringer released those, but they haven't. Prophet 5s are going up. Jupiter 8s are going up.
Well, that's
CS80s are going up. I mean, it's bonkers. I'll tell you what is consistent. It's the price of a second-hand Fairlight. They haven't changed for years. Really?
Anyone want a second-hand Fairlight?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Call me.
It does actually, Rob, because it puts the electricity bill. That's what.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then you save on the central heating.
Yeah, but you upset the neighbours because all their lights go dim when you turn it on.
It is a bit like that. Anyway, gents, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you ever so much for your company once again. Cryss, are you up to much this coming week?
Yeah.
Repairing a 2600?
Well, I'd hope to get started on that, but I'm not sure if I will.
You're going to take that to Rob Rosen, Chris? Would he be the nearest guy to you to get that fixed?
I don't know, but I can do it myself probably, and I don't have the money to have anybody else fix it. So I've done a lot of repairs, like rebuilds on vintage amplifiers and built pedals and all that kind of stuff. So it is a little more complicated than an amp or a pedal, but just to take things systematically and slowly will be the strategy for it.
Great, yeah.
So I'll have a guitar pedal board video out on Monday or Tuesday, and other than that, be plugging away doing the same stuff.
Jolly good. Sorry, just had little windy pops there. Mr. Simpson?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to download the update for Lunar Lander.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm loving that at the minute. I'm also going to get that Moog Omnisphere thing.
Yeah.
I'll get that definitely. I was going to say, I'm going to get Motor, because I think that is possibly useless to me for what I do most of the time, which is recreating these tracks. But when I finally get time to do some original music again, I think like things like Motor and that are gonna inspire me quite a bit. You know, I'm looking forward to using what that's capable of in my own music. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an investigative software usage, seeing what all these new toys can do. I think, and I might do some of the presets for Cryss if he doesn't get the Moog sound set himself. I'll do some preset demos of that if I get time.
Well, cool. Even if I do get it, I'll enjoy listening to you play through it.
Yeah.
How about you, Simon?
I'm probably going to download that demo of the Luminance thing in the morning and go through the demos of the Quadra, because I do like that. Whether it's going to fit in with my work, I don't know, but bearing in mind that I've got no real sort of... well, I have got guitar software, but nothing that does sort of arpeggiated guitars and other instruments in the way that it does. So I'll have a look at that. And tomorrow morning I've got a couple of HXCs which are coming for that Mirage and an old Prophet 2000 which I bought years ago, and this thing it has just been a sort of pick it up, I can't be bothered, put it back in the box, pick it up, and I've actually got it going now. So I'm going to throw in an HXC and see if I can get it. I only want it as a playback thing because it's... and it is the ugliest keyboard ever made. It's just horrible looking thing. But they actually, I think, as a 12-bit sampler, it was the best 12-bit sampler ever made, sound-wise, not function-wise, because it was a dog.
Great. Yeah, it was
yeah,
great.
they did sound good, didn't they?
Yeah,
I think it was probably the best one, but it was plagued with usual sequential circuits unreliability, so it had a bit of a sad life, really. And other than that, Rob, I've got my Essence to play with. Thank you very much, Manny, for the sounds. He's the guy's a genius. He basically sent us 25 sounds, Rob and I 25 sounds, and it's just ridiculous how warm an FM module can sound when Manny Fernandez writes patches for it. So I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely, and for all his feedback to the developers as well.
Well, we must get him on the show because I just find him a very fascinating guy to listen to what he's done, really, and particularly because I don't understand FM, but I'm understanding this a little bit better. And if Stefan's watching, thanks again for all your help. It's really nice bit of kit. Really enjoy it.
Absolutely, highly recommended. I've got a 4-day week next week because then it's Easter, isn't it, at the weekend? So I get Friday off, and then I've got the week off after that. And I'm hoping, I want to do a demo video of the CE25, the one of the early FM keyboards. I've also got the Cobalt 8 up here on the desk, so I'm going to be delving into that a bit more. And there was something else I was going to do, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, that's it. I've got to do a demo video for the Fairlight iOS app, which I'm going to be taking over support for very, very soon.
I've got a lot of problems with that app. I'll go. No, I haven't really.
Do you think Cryss and I could have a whole show dedicated just me and him ranting about the 6 voices of the Polybrute or not?
Well, hold that thought, because
guys in the chat, what do you think? Cryss and I on our own ranting about the Polybrute, a yay or a nay?
Hold that thought, because I am hoping to have a Polybrute here.
Oh, you've got to let us do it, Rob.
Just
turn
soon.
it on and let Cryss and I loose.
You do the soundtrack in the background.
Well, and we'll get Mark Doty in on that as well.
Yeah.
I think that one would require the parental advisory.
Yeah. Well, do you know? I mean, yes, we all said this, didn't we, about the Polybrute?
Hey, look, we're getting a lot of yeses in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring it on, bring it on.
I've not seen. I've been trawling the videos. I mean, I watched. I caught up on a whole bunch of Music Track JP, Katsunori-san's videos. Who I love. I mean, I just love listening to Japanese people talk, because I love the language. I can't understand it. I have to have the subtitles on, but I just love his enthusiasm and the fact he is brilliant at playing.
Yeah.
He's got the best chops. And I was watching his Prophet 5 Rev 4 video, which is really good. I was also watching his Polybrute one, and do you know what? I don't get what people are saying about the sound if you listen to that video, but it is fair to say that the presets aren't that good, and that's the one thing I am consistently hearing, is the presets aren't that great. But if you dig in, you can get some good sounds. But no one that I've seen, and please tell me if there is, I've not seen any videos where people say, "Oh, only 6-note polyphony."
No, it's actually because Andy Brooks has just put and he's right. Yeah, 6 notes probably will do. It's just the fact that Cryss and I have just we've just hit it off with this thing about the Polybrute, and I guess what it is really is just something modern. How much extra could it have cost them to put an extra 2 in there? I just think if you're going to come out with a flagship synth, make it a flagship. Don't make it a tiny little flag about that bit. But look, it's just a me thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but like the going from 6 voices to 8 voices on a polysynth makes a really big difference.
Yeah, it's nothing in cost, and you're absolutely right. It does.
And people always forget.
It note steals. It does all, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not bitten by the Polybrute, so I would, like I said to you in the week, Rob. I'm eagerly awaiting your input on that.
I'm gonna speak to my contacts at Arturia. I'm going to try and get a definitive explanation as to why they went for 6 and not more, and I want to get it from the horse's mouth. So yeah, but yeah, I've potentially, not potentially. It's going to happen. There will be one here. Don't know exactly when, but there will be one here very soon. So when it does, let's do that. We'll get those people in. I'm sure we'll get some good feedback on that one. Anyway, there we go. Busy week ahead. Yeah. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Thanks to everyone in the chat room, of course. Absolutely brilliant to have your involvement in here. Thanks for watching. And if you're watching on catch up, I hope you enjoyed that. Keep visiting the channel. There's all of our other shows. Next week will be our 52nd show. It'll be 1 year since we've started doing this, and it just seems to be going from strength to strength, which is incredibly satisfying. We will be back same time, same place next week. And
unless you're in North America, right? Because you guys are going to time change this weekend?
Oh, yeah, time
So we're back
changes,
to normal time. Yeah, good point. Thanks for bringing that up. So, yeah, we've been behind. You've been ahead an hour compared to us. Mm-hmm. So now we catch you up, and so we go back to...
Yeah. So
what
for...
time?
11 a.m. on the west. Yeah, so it's 11. We'd be back to 11 a.m. on the west coast and 2 p.m. on the east coast rather than midday and 3. but we will try and make that clear.
Guys in
there,
America, if you get lost, just 1900 GMT and you won't go wrong.
Exactly. Or no, it'll be 1900 BST.
GMT, BST, it catches each other up, doesn't it?
But so
okay, without all that, what you can do is you can go to
just email Cryss. Cryss will give you the time.
No. This is what you can do, and this is how I double checked also, because I was thinking like, oh yeah, they haven't changed yet, but let me make sure. Is that if you go to Synth Network after the following video is going to be posted, like, hey, there's a reminder that this is coming on Sunday, you can hit the bell for that, but also you can click on it and check the time, and it'll tell you what time it's coming on in your time zone.
Yeah.
And you don't have to remember anything about
just
BST.
subscribe, hit the bell, it'll take care of everything for you. You won't miss a thing. Native VS asks a good question. Any special guests coming up in the near future? Why, yes we have. Next week we have got I'm really looking forward to this one. Philip Taysom from Modular Electronics is coming on the show next week, and we've got lots of things to ask him. The week after that, we have the very wonderful, the delightful, and incredibly talented Lisa Belladonna. She'll be with us on April the 9th. So really looking forward to that one. The week after that, we can tell you we've got Dominic Hawken coming on the show again. So really looking forward to having Dominic on. And then the week after that, we've got Matt Baxley, who I'm super excited about getting on the show. So we have got like a whole month's worth of guests already booked in there. So please do join us next week, because Philip Taysom, what a history! If you want to know, do some research. This is to our audience and also you guys as well, but I know Simon knows Pip quite well. But there's a Sound on Sound article on the Musene's website, which is like a 3 or 4 page article about Philip's studio from it's about 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, it was sort of turn of the millennium. It was amazing.
Oh, I mean, you think Simon is impressive?
It makes mine look silly. It really does.
Yeah, it looks like that looks like a pocket money job compared to his.
It's incredible.
Yeah, stunning. So Philip Taysom next week from Modular Electronics, who are doing some amazing things at the moment, and maybe we can squeeze some interesting information about what's coming up in the future.
Hope so. Don't
forget, tomorrow also is this what do they call it? I've got the reminder on here. Thomann are doing this event, aren't they? This live kind of streaming event tomorrow afternoon from 1 p.m. UK time. And it is called Keys and Frequencies. So go to Keys and Frequencies. Run the World is the application they use. Just go to Thomann, you'll find all the interesting stuff there. So there's no league football in the UK tomorrow because it's international breaks. Simon's shaking his head because he knows we're going to beat his lot to the title this year. But yeah, Thomann have got that live event coming up. So go and check that out if you haven't already. We'll be back same time, same place, but of course taking into account the time difference next week with Philip Taysom from Modular Electronics. So please do tune in for that one. Lots and lots and lots of great stuff. Please get your question. If you want to ask Phil a question, please do let us know via any of these particular channels. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube as well. And you can email us info@prosynthnetwork.com. Congratulations once again to Matthew, Paul and David for your competition win. We will be in touch with you over the weekend to get you those licenses. And I think that's pretty much all from us. So take great care. Thanks again for watching. If you're watching live or whether you're watching on catch up, your custom is as always appreciated. And we will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.